Lisa's gonna make a bomb pop. This is 3 separate pieces that will get blown and built together. She's gonna start with a blue piece, a white piece, and then the red piece will get added. And what she's doing now is, so this is all ground up color, and what she'll do is it'll get melted in as she goes in. So she'll gather, get glass, she'll come back and you can see it starts to melt in. She's gonna gather it a couple times to get a nice even coating of the color. So Lisa's doing some of the first shaping of the color. What she's actually using are, these are cherry wood blocks, but it gets the glass in a nice even shape. You can see Alex has started over here on the second piece. As she puts air in it, it keeps the bubble really even, so it keeps all the sidewalls even as it blows out. They basically have so much time to work with the glass before it cools off. And as you can see, Lisa's gonna work with it here. She'll only have so much time before she'll have to go back in, reheat to be able to continue to work it. So it's just this continual process, working with the glass till it gets cooled off. And when I say cooled off, it's at 1400, 1500 degrees. It's still very hot. And they'll just continue to reheat to be able to continue to work with it. Lisa's going in and get another gather of glass called a strip gather. So the size of the piece is pretty close to what she wants, but she wants just a little bit more on the outside. She's gonna take it out and let a lot of it drip off here onto the floor. So the next step that Lisa's gonna do here is she's going to, you can tell her shape is all nice and round. At some point, this whole piece is gonna have to come off of that metal pipe. She's gonna grab this tool, they're called jacks. She's gonna come in and start to put a line in, just a real faint line, where she'll know that when the piece is all done, it gives her a guide or a reference of where she's gonna break the piece off of the pipe to put it away. Glass is all about temperature. As the glass gets hotter, it gets softer and it's easier to move. So what Lisa was having me help her with there was that she got that spot nice and hot. As the rest of it cools down, all the air is gonna try and go to where the softest point is. So what she was trying to do is in that one little spot that she had heated up was to get that thinner and thinner as I would blow, was going into that spot to give her a real thin spot to be able to come in and start opening that up. So now she's gonna take that tiny little hole that she has and start to open it up and getting that hole bigger. So Alex is doing the exact same thing that Lisa was doing with the blue piece. She's doing the white piece, and then they'll eventually get joined together. Glass blowing is a lot about communication, especially when you have 2 people blowing. So they'll keep talking to each other. So you'll see Alex or Lisa kind of come by and say, okay, this is about the size of my opening, kind of where's yours? They'll use a variety of tools and they'll keep talking to each other because eventually these pieces are gonna have to get matched together to be able to fit together. So you want them as close as they can be in size and shape before you put them together. Alex realizes hers is still wider than what Lisa has, so she's gonna take hers back, heat it up, and then try and get her size down slightly so they're as close to the same size as they can be. Alex is gonna take the wet newspaper and she's gonna come in and squeeze on the glass and get that size down. She has just newspaper folded up and then soaked, and you can tell it's wet, and you can see it starts to burn in, but the water builds a steam layer between you and the glass. This side's warm, but like this side where she's holding is always cold, so it gives her another option for shaping the glass with just a different tool. It gives you a lot more options as far as actually being able to, you can actually squish and push the glass a little bit more than you can with the block. So Lisa's doing the first measurement here to just kind of get an idea of how close they are. So Alex is working on her edge lip right here to try and get them close. What they're both doing right now is they're getting real close on the size. So they're gonna work on both of them getting the 2 edges that they're gonna stick together. The hotter they are, the easier it is for those to stick and meld together. Lisa's using just a little bit of water on this joint. It'll give just enough of a temperature differential, and she'll be able to bring it right here, give it a nice tap, and it comes right off. And 2 different pieces become one. So right now with a white piece, it has a hole in the other end because we broke it off. So what Lisa's gonna do is she's gonna actually get that closed. We need it to be a solid form again, so when it goes into the optic mold and she blows into it, it'll expand. Right now there's a hole in the bottom when we transferred it. So getting it hot, she's gonna continue to get it hot, use the wet newspaper, continue squeezing and shaping that end down and closing it up. So much of glass blowing is just heating and shaping and heating and shaping, especially since these were 2 different pieces. Lisa's just going to continue to reheat to get the temperature between those 2 pieces as even as she can, so it truly is one piece. She's going to do the optic mold next. She'll, after that, she's gonna open it back up again and still do that third piece down on the end. So one other interesting thing that with the glass, because all the colors are made up, the color, different chemistry, different formulas, and so the white doesn't change color as much as it gets hot, but the blue does. And what'll happen is they actually move differently just based on the different formula for the colors. So one thing they're trying to do is get that blue is really hot right now, and it actually gets softer than the white does, and so it's moving around more. So they're using the marver, using the paper to try and get that a little bit cooler, just so it doesn't move around as much as the other piece. Alex is going to go ahead and start on the third piece. She'll get a couple gathers. She's going to roll in the red and start building out that third piece. Lisa's going to work on the thickness, so that edge right now is really thick, and so what she's going to do is she's going to get that end really hot. Like we talked about, it's all about communication. Right now we've got the blue and the white are together. We've got an opening on the white side. Alex has the red piece here, so she's working on what they're trying to figure out is when they make this connection here, everything has to be aligned, and we want as close in size, shape, and thickness when these go together. So one thing you'll notice is the piece is bigger. You'll see that Lisa continues to take heats with this torch on the very end. That end is called the moil. What's so critical about that is that's the break-off point that we talked about before, but because the hole is hotter toward the back, she can't get that end as hot because the further in you go, the more the top end is going to get hot. So she has to watch that. So what she ends up doing is she'll use this kind of as a spot heat to keep that moil warm and soft, because that's where it's the first place where it'll break. Up doing is she'll use this as a spot heat to keep that oil warm and soft. That's where it's the first thing. So they're not going to put them together yet, but this is kind of that first test fit to get an idea of how big is Alex's piece versus how big the opening is here. So just like when we attach the blue and the white pieces together, what they're working on right now is getting the two lips as hot as they can, because again, when we get the glass really hot, it gets softer. It's easier to make those connection points together. So when they come together and they stick together really easily. Now that third piece is permanently attached, and now we have one large piece made up of three smaller pieces.
Ready?
So now the same thing like we saw with the blue and the white, it's going to be a lot of reheating. Alex, hold the piece once we're done. So just like on the other pieces, Lisa's going to put just a little bit of water down on that end, create a bunch of tiny little micro cracks that then, with a little bump, that piece will break right off and break into Alex's hand. So where we're actually going to put this away, they're called annealers. This piece is going to go in there, and over 8 hours works its way all the way down to prevent it from cracking. So here she goes. Perfect.